Raise your hand if you've ever felt not quite ready, not quite good enough. Like your past has some chapters you'd rather no one read, or your present has a few cracks in it. Maybe you look at the task in front of you, the dream, the calling, the challenge, and you think, they must have the wrong person. What if I told you that your feeling of being imperfect is a disqualification from your purpose, but is, in fact, part of the qualification? We're going on a journey back to the very first book, Genesis. It's not just a book of origins. It's a blueprint of how the divine works. And the pattern is startlingly clear. God consistently chooses the unlikely, the flawed, the broken, and writes his greatest stories through them. This isn't a modern self-help idea. It's woven into the fabric of our spiritual heritage. The Apostle Paul said it plainly, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. But nowhere do we see this more vividly than in Genesis. This is the book of beginnings, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. It shows us that from the very start, God's plan wasn't carried out by perfect beings in a perfect world. It was carried out by real people, with real failures, in the middle of real messes. So, let's meet our case studies. We start with Abram, called by God to leave everything and go to a land he'd never seen. A man of great faith, right? Absolutely. But also deeply imperfect. Twice, out of sheer fear for his own life, he lies and says his wife Sarah is his sister. He hands her over to the harems of foreign kings to save his own skin. Not exactly a hero moment. Later, he and Sarah decide God's promise of a child is taking too long. So, they cook up their own plan with Hagar, leading to family strife that echoes through millennia. Here's the point. God didn't call Abraham because he was perfect. God called Abraham, and through the journey, forged faith in him. The covenant wasn't broken by Abraham's lies or his impatience. God used even those failures as part of the story, shaping the father of faith through his own imperfections. Then there's Jacob. His name literally means heel grabber, supplanter, deceiver. He comes out of the womb grasping. He manipulates his hungry brother Esau for the birthright. He lies to his blind father Isaac to steal the blessing. He's a schemer, a conniver, and yet this is the man God renames Israel, he who struggles with God. This deceiver has a profound, all-night wrestling match with the divine. He walks away with a limp and a new identity. From Jacob come the 12 tribes of the nation. God didn't use Jacob in spite of his cunning nature. He redirected it. The relentless striving that Jacob used for selfish gain was harnessed by God for a prophetic purpose. His imperfections weren't erased. They were transformed. And let's not forget young Joseph, arrogant, a tattletale, flaunting his fancy coat and his dreams of superiority in front of his already jealous brothers. His lack of wisdom and tact got him thrown in a pit and sold into slavery. But those very dreams, the source of his youthful arrogance, were the seeds of his divine destiny. The pride was sanded down through the suffering of Potiphar's house and prison. The boy who dreamed of ruling his brothers became the man who could say to them, "Years later, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." His imperfect beginning was not the end of his story. It was the raw material God used to save nations. So, what does this mean for you and me? First, your past is not your prophecy. Abraham's fear, Jacob's deceit, Joseph's arrogance, these did not get the final edit on their life's story. God is the author who can take any flawed chapter and weave it into a redemptive narrative. Your mistakes are not full stops. They can be commas if you let him rewrite the sentence. Second, your weakness is a conduit for his strength. God isn't waiting for you to become perfect to use you. Notice, none of these men were transformed overnight. It was a journey through deserts, wrestling matches, and prison pits. Offer him what you have, your flawed faith, your wrestler's spirit, even your past failures. Say, "Here I am, with all my imperfections." Use this story for a purpose greater than I can imagine. Look for the "but God" moment. In every one of these stories, there's a pivot. They messed up, but God showed up. Your story is waiting for that pivot. Genesis teaches us that God doesn't look for the shiniest tool in the shed. He looks for the available one, the one willing to leave, to wrestle, to endure, and to trust. You may feel like an Abraham afraid and out of your depth. You may feel like a Jacob struggling with your own nature. You may feel like a Joseph misunderstood and in a pit you didn't expect. But you are precisely the kind of person God loves to use. Your imperfections are not a barrier to his purpose. They are the platform for it. Walk out of here not in spite of your story, but because of it. You are a living Genesis, a story of the beginning, of calling, and of a God who makes all things new. Go and let your great purpose unfold. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more.